Hey everyone, how you doing today? Well, here's an unexpected update on this ship again. I wasn't planning on doing this. I was planning on doing some combat testing with it today. But yesterday, after the video, I did send the ship to Artemis, who offered to give it some combat trials. And he did. Had a over an hour video and a bunch of recommendations on different things. And a lot of vulnerabilities got exposed here with ship damage and things like that. So what I've been doing instead of testing it myself is going through a lot of the recommendations and kind of working parts of the ship. So here's the new version over there. This is the one he tested, and also the one I showed yesterday. So to start with, it was recommended to make these thrusters over here stronger from the front. So I did do that. I kind of did some more things with these reverse thruster housings on the newer version of the ship. Another thing that kind of came into play is the proximity of a lot of these, like these big launchers here and a potential turret that's on top of there. The proximity of those to the first-person bridge, where hits were coming in these areas here. In fact, several things had like big chunks of the area just blown right out here. Let me get the HUD on, and things like that. So there's a lot of problems here. It was also brought up that this little door thingy I got going on here is super vulnerable. These, despite being quote unquote a armored door, it's super flimsy. It is very, very flimsy. So I think I'm gonna have to do something about that now. Now he recommended that, or one thing I could do is to like put like a wall of combat steel in here and like push that back a little bit and kind of make it so it's stronger and protects the people from this super vulnerable door. It's noted. I don't know if I'll do the combat steel wall thing, but I'm definitely going to do something about the door. It might just be removed. Just get it out of the build. Here's the problem. Even a standard steel block like what we're looking at here. Now let me get to is, oh, that's not a full block. I think they're supposed to have 5. Oh, these are all the thin blocks. Let me look at one over here. Yeah, a standard steel block has 5,000 hit points, and steel's not very strong. These armored doors have 1,100 hit points. They're super weak. The only door that has any strength to it are the blast doors, and of course they're unfortunately not airtight. So that's kind of a problem there too. So yeah, this door is super bad, super weak, and it's right by the core too. So that's an issue. I do want to address that. If I did get rid of it entirely, there's another door here. You can get into the bridge. It's a little further away from the pilot seat, but it is certainly safer. Or I could take his advice and try to put like some kind of combat steel wall here and push that back a little bit and stuff like that. I'll figure something out, but the vulnerability is noted. Another thing that was brought up, anyway, let's just go to the new version here so I can start showing you that. So the new version, this whole thruster housing got actually pushed back by 2 blocks and out 1 block from this build over here. You can actually see on this one, it had a body line or part of the frame over here, and this doesn't actually have that anymore. It's all the back part of the thruster. So I did all that so I could add another block row here and then a metal grate in front of this thruster to try to protect it a little bit more from incoming frontal damage. Now it's still pretty weak on all the other sides over here. It's generally just steel blocks around that whole thruster there. Of course, any blocks can be upgraded, but everything's weight, and I can't protect everything. It'd just be way entirely too heavy to mess with that. So try to pick and choose my battles here, I guess. one way to put it. All right, so another thing, I did a kind of a little bit more major change here. The entire section of the ship starting over here got pushed out another block row. I didn't make the ship bigger. It's the same width and everything like that, but just talking about the top angled area. And I did all that so I could push both the turret and the launcher positions further away from the bridge. Not that it's a huge distance, but it is at least one more block row away from the bridge in the middle. I also did upgrade more of the blocks around the front of the bridge to at least hardened steel right now. And again, I do want to address that vulnerable door there as well. So there's some other issues that were brought up too in the corners of some of the rooms I had in here. I still got to texture some more of this again, but I had some vulnerabilities, I think, in here, kind of in the side corner. Some of the blocks weren't super strong, and that's why these are combat steel blocks now. I think they were either carbon by mistake or steel before, but yeah, I'm just kind of souping that up quite a bit more. In both the large shield room had that problem, and the medium shield room also had issue up in the corner here. So I did harden this up. It hardened up the whole wall around it as well. A bunch of Xeno blocks there. There's a lot of stuff on the front, so I'm not so worried about that. But basically, it was really weak in the corner over here. And also having this thruster further from the hall, since it's out one more block this way, allowed for better reinforcing in this area as well. So that I'm trying to fix up those little vulnerabilities there. Now, another recommendation, and this one I don't know if I'm going to comply with. It makes sense what he's saying, though. Is basically, I guess these back, your forward thrusters get hit pretty good, too. And that kind of sucks. And his recommendation actually is pretty sound, and that would be to take the entire thruster and like ease it way back so it's like in between these other two thrusters. There's exactly 3 blocks in between these two, so it could fit there. And then get rid of the whole thruster housing in the back entirely, pretty much, or minimize that. One of the issues I've got with it is I was already running completely out of any space to put CPU core blocks, and that would basically blow away the room I do have for CPU core blocks. But you know, it would protect that thruster more, but then you wouldn't really have a rear thruster housing. It'd be just kind of flat with the back of the ship, which is probably all right. It's not like I don't think these thrusters look wonderful on this ship anyway, but I'm considering that. It's noted, and I'm not sure exactly what I want to do about it yet. The problem is like I would have to figure out some other place again where to put the CPU cores, and I just don't know where to put them. It's like I got 2 rooms of them on either side, and I would lose both of them if I did that. And yeah, it scares me. So cosmetically speaking, it kind of sucked not seeing the back thrusters there. I'm used to them. I think it does add a little bit to it, but it could probably look all right if it was just flat back there as well. So that's another thing to consider. Also, it was noted I had a decoy over in here of a launcher. I guess the AI wasn't too willing to shoot at it. So instead they were shooting kind of at the launchers back over there. And then I was maybe recommended to bring it up a block row from where it was so they see it a little bit better. But then if I did that, it would be like right 1 block down from the top of the hull, in which I couldn't really protect it or run Xeno blocks, or I'd have to upgrade a bunch more blocks up here. And yeah, so essentially speaking, I was also, at least at Core 7 specs, was running over budget on CPU by a little bit anyway. So I just blew away that launcher entirely. It's just not there anymore. And I'm actually kind of happy about that. I hated it there. You have no idea how bad I hated it there. But yeah, it's just gone. I also took the decoy generator that was here. I moved that to here, a little closer in the front of the ship. What I did notice in the video was the front end was holding up pretty good. I mean, it should, but it was. I wasn't, not worried about the front end, like getting all blown up to the point of reaching the warp drive or anything like that. It wasn't anything like that. So yeah, I just figured putting the decoy there, it probably has a little bit too much protective stuff going on back here. But where the ship was really having problems for the most part was all these little vulnerabilities, like in some of the rooms and stuff like that, in proximity to the bridge, and the weak door up on the top of the bridge and stuff like that. So I'm just basically trying to address all those issues. As it stands right now, um, I got the CPU balanced at Core 7, obviously without guns except for your sentry guns, which has 20 of those now. I think I reduced that by 2. Maybe I'll get them back on there too. I think I have the CPU for it. But at Core 7, yeah, 584, it's using 577 now, so it's compliant with Core 7. And this comes stock with a 60 light year warp drive. Does have a detector, does have a heavy shield in it with no additional shield parts. And currently, I believe 20, was it 20? 20 sentry guns. Yeah, I think 20. Does have that one Decoy light cannon turret inside there. So it can get out basically at Core 7 at this spec. Not really have any CPU left over to add guns unless you bring it up to a at least a Core 9. So there is that. So anyway, I just kind of wanted to go over these changes to the ship here a minute. I'm not going to get a chance to test it myself today. I probably won't tomorrow either. Tomorrow is like pretty much really busy. So maybe this Saturday I'm going to try to test it. Try to do some combat with it myself. But basically, Artemis did do a lot of good testing with it and kind of knows what to test it for and what against. And I really don't know. I mean, I would just get that tool and spawn in something and see what happens. Yeah. But, you know, he was trying this at some different core levels, too. So he did first bit of testing at Core 9 level. And don't get me wrong. I mean, despite all these vulnerabilities, it's still hanging in there. But yeah, a lot of these issues, you know, if they're addressed, would probably be a very good thing. And I again really appreciate him spending the time to take a good look at that and really give it a good thorough test. And again, if he does if he decides to put that video public, which I totally am cool with, then I will link it here, and then you can all watch the testing of that version of this ship before I started changing everything else around here again. Which, believe it or not, all these little changes like this, they take longer than you think. Well, they take a while. I mean, especially when I decided to chop this whole chunk over here, then I had to rebuild all the blocks around it, fix up this whole room down under here. So, I mean, just one little change like that can take a while to do. The only thing I'm a bit reluctant on though right now is to push these thrusters inward, but you know, it does make sense on that. They would fit there. The reason why I didn't do that in the first place is I didn't want the thrusters to be touching one another because of chain reaction damage, and that's why I have them there and not here, because it would have fit there. And it would have made it so I could make everything a little smaller and less blocks. But the way I did it, I've got like xenoblock layers and everything's protected. So if this thruster gets hit, it won't chain react to these thrusters. If they were back in there, it would be more protected and less likely to be hit. But if any one of these thrusters were hit, it's liable to take them all out on there. So that's kind of my method of thinking on when I was setting this up, that I didn't want to put the thrusters right next to each other. I do that on other builds, but on this build I didn't want to for that specific reason. So I don't know if my thinking's right. I added weight by not doing that, and more blocks and more blocks in between here to make it so they don't chain react. But I mean, technically speaking, if any one of these thrusters gets popped, it should not chain react to any other thruster. And if I did that, then it would. So that's just a different alternative way to look at it. It's probably better to do that, though, if they're getting hit all the time. The only real option I've got is to try to reinforce this housing here more, which is, again, adding more weight to the ship. And that is something I don't necessarily want to do. Speaking of weight to the ship, again, I don't have the guns on here, so this isn't really accurate. But it's about the same speed as it was last time I showed. showed it. I think it might have dropped a smidgen, maybe. I'm not sure. I'm not exactly sure. It's pretty close. And that was with extending this out and also extending this out a little bit over on the bottom side there. Which I don't mind the changes to the reverse thrusters, except for I don't particularly like the block formation I have up around these grates right now. I think I could use some help. I put these here, but then there's not a block that fits the thing, and you know, the standard stuff. I think I just got to go with straight up angled thin blocks around there or something like that and call it a day. But yeah, what a chore that building a combat ship is. So when you see people that build these combat ships and they're really good, and they're good solid combat ships, understand that they are a pain in the butt, balancing all the numbers, get everything right, and stuff. So there is that, and I do appreciate that Artemis took the time to check all this out and do some really good combat testing with it. It's given me a lot of things to go on, and a lot of vulnerabilities are going to be able to be fixed. Just some, I don't know, like the thruster thing. This would cause me absolute chaos if I was to put those in there, like recommended. Because then I lost both of my core rooms too, and it's like, where do I put them then? I didn't have any room. That's why I put them in this awful spot in the first place, because I didn't have room anywhere else to put them. And if I got to lose that too, then I guess, you know, there's other comments too that suggested, you know, to don't release this as a cheaper variant like Core 7 or something like that, and just get rid of these gens, put in the fusion reactors, and put the cores here on either side, which they would probably fit. And that's a good recommendation as well. I just I guess I had my heart set on trying to get this so I could get it in game fairly cheaply, well, for what it is at least, and then you can upgrade it from there. And if I put in the fusion reactors, which are more efficient on CPU and power and all that, plus sealed perks, it would be way more expensive and harder to bring in the game, is the whole point. And usually, you know, this is more of a late game thing anyway, so I don't know. I just don't know what to say sometimes. It's just like, what a pain in the butt. I definitely like building Helios carriers and things better. That's for sure. Definitely I can actually have a little fun with those. This one, I had fun building the hull and started doing all the armor and the decoys and worried about this and that and the CPU and this and the motion and the more CPU and the more this. It became a nightmare. It just became something like, oh my god, I don't want to work on that anymore. I'm so tired of working on this ship. And it seems like I'm like, for the last week and a half, I barely got anything done. And there's all these little things that you don't really even notice, that you practically go to sleep at night and I'm stressing about it. And it's just like, gosh darn it. Just be done. So that's where I'm at right now. Please let me know what you think. And also give Artemis a thanks. And I hope someday that he puts that video out and you can kind of see him testing this and whatnot. There's no voice audio in there, but got some music, and you can definitely hear the action of combat and things like that. So other than that, y'all have yourself a great day. I'll talk to you later.